Good afternoon, everybody. We are going to be walking around Manhattan tonight, headed uptown on this very rainy day in the city. We're only going to be streaming for about an hour tonight, but we're going to be talking about some interesting housing data that we got today. All the major indices were down. The S&P 500, the Dow Jones Industrial Average were markedly lower for the day. It is a very frigid night as well as rainy night in Manhattan, so we will try to stay as dry as we can. We have Aldo Gomez is here, Jane M, Jonathan Richards says hey, Joey is here, good to see you. Alton says hey Tom, how's it going? It's going really good, good to see everybody. Leonardo says hey Tom, Chris Beeman, good to see you Chris. From Arizona says hey Tom, how are you? Jason Francis says hello Tom and welcome back. Good to see you Jason Francis. Shauno says hello from Detroit. Brittany McMurdy says, evening Tom, hope all is well. Good to see you, Brittany McMurdy. As always, I see Matthew P, the one and only Sanjib is here, says, hello Tom. Favorite movie, probably gonna have to be Wall Street. Hey, Lee is here, says present and accounted for. What's up, Lee? Good to see you. Definitely a big shock from Miami. I mean, geez, it is cold out here tonight. Hemp Lord says, what's up Tom, how are you? Good to see you. Jackie M, welcome everybody. So supposedly it's going to really start to come down in a minute here, but the topic for tonight's stream is going to be a short topic, but new home sales fell again in February. So we just got the home sales data out and they did fall again. Sally is here, good to see you Sally, welcome. I see War Walker says, hello Tom, Miami misses you. I miss Miami too, not gonna lie. Especially now that it is raining tonight. We definitely do miss it. Santo says, hey Tom and everybody, good to see you Santo. I hope you are well. Hope you're doing good. So we are down near Astor Place, near the IBM building tonight, but we're gonna be walking uptown. Lori E, good to see you. Lewis says, hey Tom, back in New York City. What's up, Lewis? Yes, we are. We are back. Lafayette Street and East 8th Street near the Cube. I see Aldo Gomez. Good to see you. Jackie M says, what does that mean in the investment world? Yeah, so we'll talk about it. Demand continues to be really high for housing. Inventory is quite low historically, but we did see a little bit of a drop-off in home sales. Savvy says, good evening, Tom and everybody. Good evening, Savvy. Aldo Gomez, it's good to see you. Falcon Space is here, says, evening, Tom. Roy S, what's up, Roy? Says, Tom, when is your Amtrak? So I'm going to Philadelphia tomorrow. So we probably will not be streaming tomorrow. So I thought I'd get a quick live stream in tonight. But tomorrow I have to travel to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I should be there probably all day, well, let's say half the day tomorrow and then all day Friday. It's kind of crazy how it's almost already the end of the week. Hey, Cosmo Scary is here. Faith, what's up? Good to see you, Faith. Cosmo, what's up, man? Good to see you. Olivia Hours says hi. Welcome, welcome, everybody. So apologize, we don't have the microphone tonight. But I don't think it'll be windy. I think it's just going to be a little rainy tonight. Hey, I see Mark Davis says, what's up, Tom, from Toronto, Canada. Good to see you, Mark, as always. So maybe we'll take a quick pass at Washington Square Park. We'll try to stay out of the rain tonight. Santos says, thank you, Tom. Sally is here. Good to see you. Welcome. Alejandro says, good evening from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Very cool. Love Argentina. Hey, Carol says, hello, Tom, and stay dry. Thank you. So we're going to be commuting back to the Moynihan train station tonight. Hope everybody had a good Wednesday. Already the middle of the week. But the good thing about the rain is it's probably going to wash a lot of the debris and clean a lot of the streets, which is always good. Hey, Gary is here, says, hey Tom and everybody, great to hear you. Good to hear you too, Gary. Roy S says, this is the first appearance of the iPhone 13 mini in New York City. That it is, you're right. Let me know what you think of the quality of the picture quality. Hey, Charlie Richardson says, hey Tom, back in New York. Good to see you, Charlie, as always. Hope you're doing well. Wolf Theta says, hey Tom, good to see you, Wolf Theta. I think the wind is going to start to pick up a little bit, but as we head towards Midtown, we're going to take a walk around the block. I think the wind should subside a little bit. But after dropping 4.5% month over month in January, new home sales were down again in February, decreasing 2% from the prior month to a seasonally adjusted rate of 772,000 homes, according to data released today by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and the U.S. Census Bureau. Year over year, new home sales were down 6.2% in February. So once again, home sales are down. But as we saw from the Home Builders Index, the reading is now dropped below 80, but some of the key critical points that a lot of the home builders talked about, their confidence index, is number one, rising raw materials costs, which can include anything from the lumber, commodities that go into building these homes. Number two is the shortage of skilled labor. A lot of home builders are having issues retaining employees and finding skilled labor to actually build these homes. And then one reason that we talk about all the time, which is rising interest rates. So as we know, that 10-year US Treasury yield is sitting well above 2%, which means a 30-year fixed rate mortgage is going for roughly 4.5%, putting a little bit of pressure on demand for homes. Hey, John is here. Says, hello, Tom. You're back in New York? We are. So I flew out of Miami at about, when did I get my flight? Like 1:40. So I was here probably around like 4 o'clock. Wasn't a bad flight. Hey, running at altitude says 30-year fixed rate mortgages are approaching 5%, one of the fastest 3-month rate spikes since 1994. Yeah, running at altitude. And in the article, I think if you type !home, H-O-M-E, in the chat, I programmed the Nightbot to drop the article that outlines the economic data that we were so happily be able to receive today. And it talks about that as well. You know, as interest rates go up, you know, that means monthly mortgage payments go up as well. Obviously not for people who are already locked in their mortgages because those are fixed rates. But if you're in the market to buy a home, you know, and you're going to pay 4.5% or approaching 5% on a mortgage, you know, that could add a couple $100 to your payment. So hopefully that'll cool off some of the demand in the housing market and allow for prices to drop a little bit. Hey, Lori E, welcome. Good to see you. Lily Ray, welcome, Lily Ray. First Show says, hello, Tom. Your channel is fantastic. I live in Ecuador, but I have family in Elmhurst, Queens. Love that. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. It's good to see you, War Walker. And I see Obama here too, as we are walking down West 4th Street and Broadway. Right here back on the good old campus of New York University. Hey, Frank says, hey, Tom, GE, no turbulence this time on the flight back to New York. No turbulence at all. Thank you. Beto says, Giga is opening up in Germany. They are, yes. Very excited about that. Good to see you, Beto. Frank, hope everybody's having a good day. You know, the weather is completely the polar opposite of Miami. Very dreary and rainy day here, but, you know, from what I've heard, New York City actually had a pretty good swing of weather. Hey, Robert's here. Says, hey, Tom and friends. What's up, Robert? Good to see you. Cynthia Martinez says, Manhattan has subways, but Brickell doesn't. Good to see you, Cynthia. Hope you're well. Hyatt says good evening, rainy New York City. You know, it's like a misty rain today, so it's not like coming down in buckets like it usually is. Hey, a guy in back day says, hey Tom, new name, how was your day? My day was really good. It was pretty much trails and things like that. Hey Edward, thank you for being here. This is Tom, I like the videos, thank you. So we're passing the Stern School of Business. Whenever we pass the Stern School of Business, we always like to mention Professor DeModeran. He's considered the Dean of Valuation. Sue812 says, hola Tom, hola to you too. Brett Malone says, good evening. Gigi NYC says, welcome back. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Gigi. I appreciate that very much. And here we have the Stern School of Business. It looks like we actually have students coming out of class. I guess you could have night classes. Western Mass Dave says, Tom, you're all over the country this week. Wish you a lot of fun in Philly. Yeah, so we'll be in Philly tomorrow. So I'm pretty excited about that. We will be in Philly tomorrow. Wolf Theta says, funny thing, I live by Midtown and I still watch. This is just very entertaining. Knowing what you miss and don't know out there. Yeah, that's true. Thank you for watching. Kevin Lee says, good evening. It's 8:50 at the Barclays Center, Atlantic Terminal, Brooklyn. W. Cleveland says, looks like the markets took another downturn today. Yeah, so, I mean, we had 4 days in a row of rallying markets. And I believe it was 4 consecutive days of 1% gains in the market. So I think it was justified for things to pull back a little bit today. But we will watch it. The follow-through day is still intact, is still in play. But the only thing that's really concerning me from a macro perspective is there's a lot of talk. I was briefly tuning in and out of Bloomberg on the flight. And there's a lot of talk out there of potential chemical weapons use via Russia on Ukraine. And I think that's spooking the markets a little bit. So I think that's going to be something interesting to pay attention to. But obviously, you know, the indices have rallied really hard off the bottom. But as we wrote about in the Behind the Street newsletter that I sent out to everybody on Monday afternoon, you know, the market is rallying back into the moving averages. So oftentimes those moving averages will turn away price. But we will keep an eye on it. Hey, Beijing Charlie, good to see you, my friend. Hope you're well. Andy S says, yay, New York. Good to see you, Andy. Hope you're well. Wolf Theta says, Tom, do you think we are in a new bull market now? Well, I think we are in a confirmed uptrend, right? So after the follow-through day, markets turn into a confirmed uptrend. But if we break below the price level on the day of the follow-through day, then that means the follow-through day has failed. But if you want to know more in-depth, conclusive thoughts about the market, where I post actual like infographics and explain it a little bit in videos as well, if you type !news, N-E-W-S, in the chat, the Nightbot will drop the link to the Behind the Street newsletter, where you guys will be able to check it out, read all my thoughts on the market. Wow, check out the beautiful One World Trade Center tonight. W. Cleveland says a big problem with airlines avoiding Russian airspace. Yeah, isn't there a no-fly zone over there? Laura E says, Tom, lots of news today. Connect the dots. 5 energy companies. Yeah, there's a lot of news today about Russia. Jay says, welcome home to New York City. Near my house on 9th and University. Beautiful location, by the way. Jackie M says, Tom, are you taking the train to Philly tomorrow? I am. So I will be taking the train to Philly. I'm excited for that. Emilio J, good to see you. Joey. Tom Berlin is here. Good to see you, Joey. Wolf Theta, thank you. Appreciate it. So let's take a walk through Washington Square Park. It's one of my favorite parks in New York City. So I was reading through the report today, and I think the most interesting piece of economic news was the fact that although home prices continued to rise across the nation, the median sales price of a new home in February was $400,600, down from $423,300 in January. So that's about, $23,000 less. So it seems like the median price of a new home is actually coming down, which is good, because to think about the median home price or of a new home being over $400,000, I mean, that's crazy. That's really crazy. And as we've been talking about on the stream, a lot of this has been due to artificially low interest rates, nobody wanting to list their homes on the market during the pandemic, increased demand of people working remotely, moving out of major cities into more suburbs. So I actually think it's positive for the country as a whole that prices are coming down a bit, cooling off, because I mean, there's only we can only go up in a straight line for so long, and I think it'll allow a little bit of relief for consumers. But then again, as interest rates rise, I think Wolf Theta said in the chat, 30-year fixed rate mortgage is 4.5% on its way to 5%. Hey, Durman, says Tom, you are just living life. Keep it up. Thank you, Durman. I appreciate you. Hey, Dimitri says, you're back in New York and a rainy day too. Really pretty here. Dwart55 says, how long is the travel time from New York City to Philadelphia? So I think it's about I actually don't know. I think it's about 3 hours. Does anybody know? Does anybody know the exact time it takes? Probably about 2.5 hours, I'd say. Hey, Life, Liberty, and Guns says, hey, Tom, glad to see you back in New York City. Good to see you, Life, Liberty, and Guns. Sophia Griffith says, yes, New York, New York. Abdullah is here. Good to see you, Abdullah. So check out this view, or this shot of the Empire State Building here. This is one of my favorite views of the Empire from Washington Square Park. Hey, the one and only Kim K is here. What's up, Kim? Melee says, good evening from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Good to see you, Melee. Abdullah, is always. Miss Shea Butter says, hey, Tom, good to hear your voice again. You always have news on the block. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Sebastian, the one and only Ruby Falcone. Good to see you, Ruby. Well, check out, I think the zoom on the camera is a little bit better than on my other phone. Colin Watt says, greetings from snowy Yellow Knife, Canada. Awesome name for a town or a city. But although I think I'm pretty much done with the snow for the winter, so I think if I were to ever visit Canada, it'd probably be in the summertime and the fall. So I'll give you guys one more shot at Washington Square Park. Obviously not a lot of people here tonight because we do have on and off rain. But check out the view of the One World Trade Center here, beautiful. Hey, John says, beautiful view, Tom. Good to see you, John. Faith, I hope your day was well today. The one and only ABX Girl is here. Says, hey there. Good to see you, ABX Girl. So as we're talking about the housing market tonight, I wanted to know specifically, ask the people in the chat, what are you seeing in your local communities, in your local markets? Have things cooled down a bit? Are we still seeing people lining up down the block and around the corner for open houses and things like that? Or do we see demand cooling a little bit? In my personal life, I have a little bit of mixed data, although anecdotal. I think it's important to share. In Southern Florida, there's very, very few homes for sale, especially in the particular neighborhood that I recently purchased an investment property about 4 months ago. There's only one single family home for sale and it is egregiously overpriced at about $650, and I think about $600,000 even. I gotta I'll look at it and post it in the chat. I think it's about $600,000 for a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, which I think is really crazy, and I think it'll probably get sold, honestly. Dwart says Yellowknife is on the way to Alaska. GGNYC, good to see you. So we will walk up 5th Avenue. Hey, Cole says, I'll let you know, having an open house on Saturday. Ah, very nice. So Cole, you're trying to sell your house, I'm assuming, right? Yeah, please let us know. I think that'd be an interesting piece of data. And Cole, if I'm not mistaken, you were trying to sell your house on Staten Island, is that right? Diamond Dave says, good evening, Tom. Great day in the markets, eh? Good to see you, Diamond Dave, as always. Yeah, Chris Beeman's like, love your name. I love it too. Yeah, Jackie M says, Tom, $600,000 is small beans for Los Angeles. You're right. LA, the housing prices are crazy, crazy. Hey, Diamond Dave, thank you so much for the $5 donation. Appreciate you very much. Thank you for supporting the channel. Hey, Life, Liberty, and Guns says, Tom, a very large house in our city just sold for over $2 million in all cash. Wow. Yeah, so Life, Liberty, and Guns, you bring up another great point, because we've been talking about that too. You know, a lot of about 25% of all home sales are all cash buyers. So when we try to think about default rates, you know, it's pretty hard to default on your mortgage if you don't have one. And if 25% of buyers are coming in with all cash offers, I mean, that's pretty significant. I think that's up from 22% last year. Hey, Jackie M says, my dad bought his house in all cash back in the day. Dort 55 says, Tom, my brother took 2 months after graduation and rode his motorcycle to Alaska. That's phenomenal. Love that. Hey, Cole says it's a 2-family house, trying to sell it for $858. Well, let us know. Please keep us updated and see if you can. Hey, Marilyn says, where are problems with spring breakers in Miami? What's going on? I'm not too sure, Marilyn. It happens every year. I don't really pay too much attention to it, to be totally transparent with you. But a lot of people from out of town come to South Beach and want to party, and then they get into fights, and I just try to avoid it. Hey, the ABX girl says, land in my area is being turned over quickly. 4 apartment complexes and 5 subdivisions in 4 years. And a new development broke ground. The town gained 45,000. Within 12 years, rent started 1,500. Homes 600. Wow. And that's in the Carolinas. So for those of you who don't know, the ABX girl is in the Carolinas. Betos is spring break hell. True. Hey, Miss Shea Butter says, is BlackRock still buying whole blocks of homes, Tom? So Miss Shea Butter, that's an interesting question. So I'm not sure if you received the Behind the Street newsletter, but I actually included a brand new 60 Minutes interview that talks about that exact topic. So 60 Minutes was interviewing a major real estate investment trust, and I believe also a private equity firm that is currently buying single family homes and using them as rentals. So institutional investors are still trying to acquire single family homes in the United States in hopes to rent them out. So you're 100% right. But Miss Shea Butter, check out that 60 Minutes interview. I think you're gonna find it quite interesting. If you type !news, NEWS, in the chat, you could watch the video. Jackie M says, how much did you buy your house for in Miami? I'm not going to say the exact amount because people can reverse engineer it and find out where I live. Marilyn, good to see you. Hey, Steve L says, welcome back to New York City. We have the old school charm that Miami can't beat. Indeed, Steve, good to see you, my friend. It's good to be back. Not loving the wind and the rain and the cold, though, but it is a beautiful city nonetheless, and I'm happy to be back. Hey, Sheila Neal says, hello, Tom and everybody. Are you in New York today? We are. Hey, Tejada says, Tom, do you guys in the U.S. have a lot of coverage about the U.S. dollar versus other currencies? Do we have a lot of coverage about it? Well, I think I could give you my opinion on it. I think that as we go forward, you're going to see relative strength in the US dollar continue. So even though the US dollar is on a one-way trajectory lower over time, what I think you're going to start to see a lot more is relative strength in comparison to other currencies out there. Right, so usually in times of turmoil, people tend to have a flight to safety in the US dollar. So on a relative basis, I think that the United States or the US dollar will continue to have a strong currency on a relative basis. Hey, Irevis is here. Good to see you, Irevis. Hope you're doing well. RJ is here. This is Olaf from Colorado. Tom, hope you're doing okay. I am. It was a busy day of travel today, but I'm doing good. Larry H says, you're back in New York City, huh? Yep. Indeed we are. On this very rainy night. But Larry, we are going to be in Philadelphia tomorrow. I do have a couple business meetings in Philly, so I'm excited about that. Supposedly Philadelphia is a great city, so I'm excited. Hey, Chris Beeman, welcome. A guy in Back Bay says, hey Tom, the US will be the only country left in 2 years. Interesting. Interesting. Hey, Triple G says, hey Tom. What's up, Triple G? Says, I have you on in the background doing some chores. Very nice. Thank you for watching, Triple G. Wow, check out this view of the Empire State Building. Hey, Larry H says, that would be great. We'd love to see a walking tour of Philly. Yeah, we're going to try to fit it in for sure. Hey, Marilyn says, not everybody who pays with all cash. Whoa. I don't know what that was. Not everybody who pays with all cash for these high-end properties have clean hands, if you know what I mean. My friend buyer came with a suitcase full of cash. To me, it sounds a little bit dicey. Could be a little bit of money laundering there. Hey, Disney Hatch says, hello from the UK, Tom. New York looks blustery tonight. It definitely is a blustery night. It's a classic New York transition from winter to spring, for sure. Dimitrix says, how long have you been walking? Probably about 10 minutes. Alejandro says, love the view. Welcome. Good to see you, Alejandro. I hope you're doing good. Hey, Colin says, Tom, do you want to visit Alaska one day? I don't know. I'm not too sure. I'm not a big, I'm not too keen on the cold. I just don't really like it that cold. But maybe one day we'll make our way over to Alaska. You never know. Never say never. Definitely never say never. So here's another interesting statistic broken down by region. So regionally, new home sales increased month over month in the Northeast 59.3%, and the Midwest 6.3%. But in the South, home sales fell by 1.7%. The West declined 13% year over year. All regions saw increases in new home sales except for the or decreases in home sales except for the Northeast, which recorded a 7.5% increase. So the data is showing a migration from the West to the East Coast. A lot of people moving out of California. I've been hearing about a lot of people actually moving to New York from California. You know, I was talking about with one of my friends the other day that I'm seeing a lot of California license plates in New York, around Long Island, in places like Miami. So it's very interesting to see the migration from the West to the East. And it seems over the past 2 months, there's been an uptick in home buying in the Northeast. So you can think about New York, you can think about places like Boston. So pretty interesting piece of data there. Yeah, Jackie M, says that would be us, Tom? Yeah, oil paint says rain is preferred over snow, 100%. Hey, Vinny Castellano's here. Says, hello, my friend. Hope you're well. Good to see you, Vinny Castellano. Jackie M says, I'm getting the same rate in the Bronx. So my rent is $1,500 in Los Angeles, and that's not common. This is Jackie M. So I think rents across the board in New York increased about 38% year over year, which is a massive, massive increase. So we'll walk up one block and then we'll make a right. We're gonna have a great view of the Empire State Building the entire way. Hey, Mike Bell. Says, Tom, currently 116 homes on the market in county east of Columbus. 1 year ago, almost 600. Wow. That's a pretty steep decline. So you're saying right now there's 116 homes on the market. A year ago, there was almost 600 homes. And even last year we saw a big supply shock too. You know, and as we get data from the home builders, you know, a lot of the home builders' main concern is that, look, you know, we have the demand to build these homes. The only thing is, what they want to do is they want to sell the homes they build already because raw materials are just skyrocketing. So you talk about commodities, the price of lumber, you know, copper, whatever it is that goes into building a home, these prices are going gangbusters. And in addition to that, home builders are having a really, really hard time finding skilled labor. So you throw all of these things together and it creates a perfect storm for extremely low inventories and record high demand. Also, not to mention that interest rates are creeping up. You know, we briefly covered earlier in the stream that for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, it's going for around 4.5% on its way to 5% for a 30-year fixed. Hey, Ibrahim. Good to see you, Ibrahim Azam. Abdullah is here. Welcome, Abdullah. Hey, Marty Lewis. Marty, I hope you're having a good day. I'm back in New York City. A little bit blustery here. I'm not used to the cold, so I'm actually shivering. It's actually hard for me to talk as I make the transition out of the 75 degrees, sunny and humid. Hey, Arturo Flores is here. Good to see you, Arturo. Lady Sarita says, Tom, 5% on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage will price a lot of people out of a home. Yep, you're right. But hopefully, you know, as interest rates go up, hopefully that'll taper off some of the demand and prices can come down a little bit. But Lady Sarita, to your point, even if mortgage rates are at 5%, historically, sorry, I'm just getting a text. Historically, 4% mortgage rates are actually pretty low. 4 to 5% mortgage rates are actually pretty low. So I think a lot of economists out there freaking out about 4.5 to 5% mortgage rates. But I think there's a possibility for rates to go a lot higher. But you never know. Hopefully demand will taper off and prices can come down. Because we were talking about a study that they did at a Harvard Business School, that for first generation millionaires in the United States, the number one way that first generation millionaires in the United States accumulated $1 million in net worth, the majority of their net worth was actually made up of equity in their home. So if you continue to push people out of home ownership, what's going to happen is America is going to turn into a renter nation where you can only afford to just scrape by paying rent, and you will never actually have any home equity. And I think that's pretty scary. You know, a lot of European countries have gone down that road. I hope we don't do the same thing in the United States. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that the United States will turn into a predominantly renter nation? What do you guys think? Yeah, Lady Sarita says, absolutely, Tom, home equity is key. Yes, Forever 18, good to see you. Says Russia-Ukraine war, Tom, will drive the commodities prices up even further. These two countries, oil as well as other commodities. I agree. Hey, Tom M, what's up? Good to see you, Tom. Good to see you. Jeremiah says, I actually believe you will enjoy it here in Philadelphia. It's a great city if you ask me many things to do. Yeah, Jeremiah, I'm definitely excited for my trip to Philly. Definitely excited for my trip to Philly, 100%. You know, I was reading a lot of blogs online about Philly, and supposedly it's a nice city. Hey, WW, so there needs to be legislation. Hey, Jerry says, I've been to South Korea. Oh, sorry, I'm just getting a phone call, apologize. Hey, Jay says, oil over 132 tonight for the futures. Dallas is here, good to see you, Dallas. The chat is moving pretty fast tonight, so I apologize if I don't get to everybody. Disney says inflation rate hits 6.2% here in the UK, the highest in 30 years. Yeah, it seems like inflation is ramping across the world, globally. Hey, Otto is here to say, Tom, good to see you, Otto. So let's actually talk about that a little bit. I'm glad you brought that up, because if you think about it like this, let's say if I can lock in debt at 4% or 5%, and the CPI number, we had to print about 7.9%. You know, you're still pretty much getting free money after inflation, right? You know, I'm borrowing money at a lower rate than inflation. But however, let's say if inflation was at the Federal Reserve's target of 2%, but mortgage rates were at 4.5 to 5%, well, then maybe, you know, I think that would put a little bit more pressure on the market. But, you know, if I'm a big private equity firm, if I'm like a big institutional investor, and I could still lock in rates sub 5%, I think that's still a pretty good deal, you know, in my view. You know, historically, it's still pretty low rates. Yeah, oil paint. He's like, I need a degree in philosophy just to cope. Hey, good to see you, the Swan. I hope you're well. Paulina is here. Tom M says, Philly, lots of Rocky filming locations to check out. Best pizza and pretzels as well. We'll have to check it out. Hey, Elliott Wave Review. Hey, what's up, man? Says Tom is back in New York City. Glad to see the Big Apple again. Yes, so we are here on East 20th Street and 5th Avenue. Hey, Colin Watts says, Tom, the inflation rate is 5.1% here. Brad's Brain says, Tom, exactly 5% is still relatively low. Hey, Samantha R. Welcome, Samantha R. So if you guys are enjoying the stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video. We may see a classic New York City trash tornado tonight. I think that'll be interesting. Hey, Carter's here, says, hey, glad to see Tom back in New York. Thank you for the warm welcome back, Carter. I appreciate it. Elliott Wave Review. Hey, Tortellini says, what's up, Tom? I'm driving. Good to see you. Lori East says, beautiful view of the Empire State Building. Brad's Brain says, Tom, 4 to 5%. I just lost your comment. 4 to 5% rate isn't crazy. Remember, they paid 13, 14, 15% in the 70s. Not ideal, but 4 to 5% isn't going to shut down home buying. Yeah, I think you make a good point. So on a historical basis, rates aren't actually that high. But here's an interesting sort of excerpt from the article, though. It says, and I quote, affordability is a growing challenge as higher new home prices and rising mortgage rates may be pricing out some buyers. 1 year ago, 31% of new home sales were priced below $300,000. In February of 2022, that number dropped to 18% of new home sales were priced below $300,000. So this time last year in 2021, 31% of new home sales were priced below 300 grand. In February of 2022, only 18% of new home sales were priced below $300,000. So that's significant. I mean, that's a pretty big rise there. And this has been a year so far where the home builders had time to figure out what's going on, figure out and navigate supply chains. Yeah, Mr. Shea Butter says those homes weren't $1 million at 13%. That's true. Hey, Carl says, love your walks and your financial knowledge. Thanks. Hey, Carl, thank you for joining. Cypress Hill says, hey, Tom, greetings from Poland. Love Poland. Please stay safe over there. I'm wishing you well, and many blessings to you and your family in Poland. Hey, Irivas, good to see you. Hey, Lady Cerritos is exactly, Tom. What you just said is my point. Folks are being priced out of the market. Yeah, and there's been a ton, to your point, there's been a ton of articles, highlighting key instances where people, were searching for a home for about a year. They couldn't get a house, so they just get frustrated and then they wind up renting. And then once you're renting for a year, you're locked into a lease for 12 months, and then you sort of kick the can down the road, and the cycle sort of continues. So you're right, and I think, so here's my fear. Here's my one fear with the housing market, but I really don't think this will play out. My fear is that if rates keep going up, but simultaneously the prices of homes keep going up as well, which would be pretty odd if that happened, that would pretty much mean any person who's middle class or lower class, it's like game over for them. There's no way that they'll have home ownership. But I really do think that as interest rates rise, I think it will put a little bit of a cap on the prices of homes, which I think is a good thing over the long term. I'll pull off to the side so you guys can see one of my favorite views in the entire city. Hey, Irivas says, Tom, what is the date of the Bitcoin conference? So we do have a press pass to the Miami 2022 Bitcoin conference. I believe that will be April 6th until April 9th. So we will be front row and center, hopefully, during the keynote speech of Kathy Wood, and she is the CEO and founder of ARK Invest. And we will also be sitting in on Michael Saylor's keynote speech as well, in addition to Andrew Yang. Hey, Daryl's here. Says, good evening from Chicago, Illinois. I'm watching you and Action Kid at the same time. Hey, very cool. Love that. Hey, word on the streets is, what camera is that? This is an iPhone 13 mini we are filming with currently. But good to see a word on the street. Lower East's property inheritance will be the only way for some future generations to own property. Yeah, so Lower E, that's actually a very, very interesting point. And what I think could happen down the line is they're gonna start to tax that at extremely high rates, and I think that will force people to liquidate their properties. But that's true. I mean, just a little bit of anecdotal data here. In Long Island, a lot of my friends, like their parents, the only reason why they own their homes on Long Island is because it was passed down for generations and generations. Because if you think about it, the tax bills in Long Island are insane. You know, originally I was actually going to purchase my home on Long Island, but I could not justify the outrageous tax bill. You know, sometimes you could be paying upwards of, you know, $18,000 a year for your property tax bill in specific towns on Long Island. Life, liberty, and guns is not with a living trust. You're right, but, you know, what percentage of everyday regular Americans actually set up and do solid estate planning? Not very many. I would argue not very many, but maybe you're right. Hey, Maria Bright is here. Good to see you, Maria Bright. Hope you are well. Hey, the Swan. Good to see you, the Swan. Says, New York seems so dark and down compared to Miami, which is beautiful and bright. Yeah, I think it's just because it is a very cloudy, rainy day today. But this is one of my favorite spots. We're standing right outside of the Flatiron building. Right here in the, to the bottom right corner, you can see the very top of the Chrysler building. Terry P says, hello, Tom and everybody. Good to see you, Terry. Welcome. Maria Bright says, thank you. Good to see you too. Maria, always good to have you here. Long Island Duck says, that's because it's nighttime. Good to see you. Well, we do always stream at night in Miami as well. I love both cities equally, hence why I live in both. But Long Island Duck 52, it's good to see you. I hope you are enjoying your week so far. This isn't my real name. Google says it's just cause the weather. New York City is one of the brightest cities. So tonight we are talking about a lot of the housing data that came out. If you want to read the article for yourself to get a more conclusive sort of, you know, bird's eye view of what's going on, if you type !home, H-O-M-E, in the chat, I did program the Nightbot to drop the link to the article we're talking about tonight. And again, new home sales fell again in February. Inventory of new homes for sale, however, rose 3.3% in January. So that number was revised up, and inventory is actually ticking up a bit. So if you want to read the article, the Nightbot will drop it. Hey, Dylan says, good day. Question for you, Tom, or anybody in the chat. Anyone know how to get a press pass? Is it easy to get? A press pass for what? The Bitcoin conference? I had to email somebody, and then they called me, and I had to just do a quick interview about what I'm gonna do. But I think they required an audience size of over like 100,000 viewers. It doesn't necessarily have to be like concurrent subscribers to anything. I think it just they want to prove that you have an audience of people that'll watch, I guess. But I just emailed like the PR person, and then they got back to me. I did a short interview. They looked at a lot of my content. They looked at the newsletter, and then they issued it to me. Yo, Felix is here. This is Hola Tom, and welcome back to New York. Felix, thank you for the warm welcome back. Hope you're well. Hey, Wong Ice Cake is here. Good to see you. New York's Clock Tower, great restaurant. Cosmo Scary says that used to be one of the tallest buildings in the world. Very interesting. Brad's Brain says, Tom, this will hopefully be a very big factor in upcoming elections, protecting the middle-class homebuyers. Yeah, hopefully it will. Yo, Lupe is here. What's up? This is, we're back in the good old concrete jungle. What is up? Good to see you, Lupe. Lupe is our great moderator from the one, the only, Oklahoma. Good to see you. Hey, Roy S. says, Tom, you have almost 14,000 subscribers. It will be easy for you to get a press pass. I can't even believe that. When I hear that, I can't even believe that, honestly. But thank you, everybody, for subscribing to the channel. It's just been insane. I really do appreciate it. It's an absolute blast to live stream and hang out with everybody each night on the streams. So thank you to everybody who's been subscribing to the channel. Very much appreciated. Also, thank you everybody who's been reading the newsletter that I write. The Behind the Street newsletter, we have, I think, over 700 readers now. So thank you guys for reading. I send it out every Monday. If you want to sign up for the Behind the Street newsletter, where I cover the US equities markets, emerging markets, housing markets, if you type !news, NEWS in the chat, the Nightbot will drop the link to that, and I appreciate everybody that has been reading. Hey, Paranormal Witness Girl is joining. Good to see you, Paranormal Witness Girl. We're back in New York. I believe Paranormal Witness Girl is joining us from the one and only Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Hey, this isn't my real name, so just signed up for it. Thank you so much. Let me know how you like it. I'm trying to experiment with different ways that I can make the newsletter more engaging. So here's one of my ideas, and it's in the works. So every newsletter, at the bottom of the newsletter, what I want to start to do is include an interview with a prominent figure on Wall Street or in economics or whatever. I want to do a brief interview and include it in the newsletter. So essentially, I'll write my piece, and then at the bottom, I'm going to try to invite guests onto the show where we will do a brief interview where it'll have a link to the YouTube interview where you could listen to it as a podcast, and then it'll also be translated or transcribed in newsletter format. So that is coming. Hopefully I can crank out one of those a week. Hey, Vinny Castellano says, Maria had a very busy day today, but sends her love and prayers for you. Wow, I appreciate that, Vinny. And Maria. So Vinny Castellano and Maria Castellano, thank you so much for the support. Our friends out of the one and only Staten Island. So I trust you are well. Hey, Bianca M. Good to see you, Bianca M. Hey, Otto says that is a good idea, Tom, for the interviews. Yeah, so Otto, I think I'm going to try to get a mini interview. I just want to keep it very short. It's not going to be like an hour-long interview. It's probably going to be, I'm going to try to keep it 15 minutes long so people can just quick listen to it, get bites of information, and then I can transcribe it. The first guest, I may want to bring my friend on who runs a very successful hedge fund out of Chicago. He manages about $150 million. So we'll go into more along the lines of, how do you go about getting a job on Wall Street? what are the different career paths, and sort of some tips and tricks on if you want to raise money, to manage money on your own, and things like that. Yeah, Dee says the flowering tree was gorgeous. Well, I think right now in New York, we have the cherry blossoms are blooming, I believe. Hey, Khan, good to see you, my friend. Says, what's his min? We've been streaming for about 54 minutes. We're good to see you, Khan. Hey, and ours says, New York is so pretty at night. Indeed it is. You know, and it's actually not that cold out. I think I'm exaggerating a little bit. Not that cold. Nick Rocks says, flowering trees equals allergies. Hey, Esteban says, hello from Puerto Rico. Love Puerto Rico. Good to see you, Esteban. And thank you for joining us tonight. So it looks like we still have some outdoor dining facilities, but I did hear that the city wants to take them down. Cosmo, do you have any updates on that? Is the city still going to take those down? Khan says, I mean, what is your friend's minimum investment? I don't think he takes on new money, but in order to invest in a hedge fund, I believe you need to be what's considered an accredited investor, which means I believe you have to have at least 2 consecutive years of income over $250,000 or a net worth of at least 1 million. I believe that is the, they could have changed what it means to be a accredited investor, but I believe that's what the criteria is, I think. But he spent the majority of his career on Wall Street as a broker for Morgan Stanley, and then went out on his own and took the majority of his base clients at Morgan Stanley over to the fund. So I think that'll be interesting to try to get him on, do a quick 15-minute interview, put it at the bottom of the newsletter, just so people can experience both audio, visual, and reading. Okay, so now we are coming up on West 28th Street. Hey, Shannon says, good evening, Tom. Thank you for the walk. Well, thank you for being here, Shannon. I appreciate it. Hey, Community Canners. Good to see you, my friend. Cosmo Scary says, yes, they're moving away from the sheds. You know, Cosmo, in my opinion, I actually kind of like some of the outdoor dining structures. That's probably a really bad take, but some of them actually look pretty nice. Not gonna lie. And then as the city comes back to normal, you know, that pretty much doubles the size of the restaurant. So I'm sure that would help with business if they could seat more people. And in the summer, I kind of like eating outside anyway. Hey, Penelope is here. Good to see you, Penelope. Here's another good view of the Empire. Hey, Darwin says hello from Brazil. Good to see you. Good to see you, Darwin. Chris Beeman says, Tom, that new is here in Arizona. Yikes. And R says, me too, I like the outdoor dining. Some of them are decent, some of them are not too good, but some of them are very nice. The ones in Koreatown are really nice. So check out the view of the Empire here. Yeah, Lupe. This is Tom. The problem with the outdoor dining is being able to keep it clean from pests. That's totally the right idea there. Hey, word on the streets is, what is your take on Icahn Invest? I think that's like an investing app. I would never use it. I would stay away from it, in my opinion. I don't really see any value there. Hey, Dave Moore says, hey, Tom, Shields in the West Village look good to dine in, or the Sheds. Yeah, I think the outdoor dining facilities at St. Mark's are probably the most grimy of them all. I see a lot of rats there. I'm not sure if anybody's ever been to St. Mark's Place, but a lot of the outdoor dining stuff at St. Mark's is really nasty. Hey, Smee Media, what's up? Says keeping the outdoor dining will mean less available parking spots. I never thought about that. But you're right, I never thought about it like that. Hey, Ken Glass says, good evening, Tom. You have a New York slice that misses you. Good to see you, Ken. Ken, we're approaching Koreatown. So 32nd Street, considered Korea Way. Hey, New York's telling me to walk through K-Town. We may walk through K-Town tonight. I think we will. I think we'll walk through K-Town. It is one of my favorite spots. This is actually where I ate today, is in Koreatown. And also one of my favorite views of the Empire State Building. Check it out. Hey, Carol H says, hey, Tom, I missed the first part of the chat. When is the conference you'll be streaming and what is the name of it? So we are going to be able to attend the Bitcoin 2022 conference in Miami. And we are going to be live streaming. Well, hopefully, there's going to be a lot of people there, but I do have a press pass. We're going to be live streaming Michael Saylor, which is the CEO and founder of the enterprise software company MicroStrategy. Andrew Yang, which is a former presidential candidate. We will be streaming his keynote speech. I really want to try to get the Winklevoss twins. But I think the number one person I'm looking forward to is Kathy Wood. And she is the CEO and founder of ARK Invest. Hey, Tony Cortez says, hey, what's up, Walks on Wall Street? And happy Wednesday. Good to see you, Tony. Hey, Wendy England, good to see you. So for everybody that's just joining, a quick recap. So after dropping 4.5% month over month in January, new home sales were down yet again in February, decreasing 2% from the prior month to a seasonally adjusted rate of 772,000 homes, according to data released by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, as well as the U.S. Census Bureau that was released today. Year over year, new home sales were down 6.2% in February. And also, if we look at new home purchases, at the end of February, an estimated 407,000 new homes were still for sale, which at current sales rates represent a 6.3% or a 6.3 month supply. And this is an increase of 3.3% from a month prior and a 40% increase from the February level of 2021. And if you want to read the article in depth, if you type !home, H-O-M-E, the Nightbot will drop the link to the article. So it looks like a little bit of supply is coming back on the market, not much, unfortunately. And rising interest rates are putting a little bit of pressure on a lot of the buyers in terms of affordability. Obviously, that 30-year fixed rate mortgage is bumping up on about 4.5%, on its way to 5%, as we see that 10-year US Treasury yield hold steady above 2%. So here we are in Koreatown. And you can see the very top of the Empire State Building. Hey, Kevin is here. Says, good evening, Norm. What's up, Kevin? Wendy, England. Says, yeah, there's hardly any inventory here in Vancouver, Canada as well. Yeah, I mean, Vancouver is another one of those housing markets that has been on fire. I think also Toronto is quite difficult to get a house for under $1 million, if that's even believable. Ladies Cerritos says, what day is that conference, Tom? I believe it is April 6th. Oof.
Oh, you okay?
Are you okay?
You good?
Are you okay? Are you sure? Yeah. Do you want me to call somebody?
No.
Do you want me to help you up? You sure? You want? I think you should sit down over here. Here. You sure? Are you with anybody?
No. Good, thank you.
Okay. Oh my God. Yikes. What the heck? So I offered to help, but she gave me she was very stern about no help. So I was like, okay. Yikes. Penelope is joining us from the one and only Tennessee. Good to see you, Penelope. Hey, Joel is here. This is from North Carolina. Just subscribed. Thank you, Joel, for subscribing to the channel. I appreciate it very, very much. Hey, Laytha is here. Good to see you, Laytha. Yeah, Ruby Falcone's like, let's see that face ripping view. Yeah, this view from the corner of 32nd Street and 5th will take some faces off for sure. I think the rain is starting to pick up a little bit too. right, here it is. One of my favorite views of the Empire State Building. Hey, Out and About is here. Says the rain is coming down here in Toronto right now. Good to see Out and About. Hey, Guzman says, hey Tom, long time no see. How are you today? I'm doing well, Guzman. We're back in New York City. I just landed here not too long ago. So very happy to be back. D Dirty, what's up? Vinny Castellano says, Tom, do you think bringing back the Guardian Angels would help with the crime? I'm not too sure. I think in order to really, fix a lot of the crime situation, I think it needs to be like a bipartisan effort. And I think the number one thing is the bail reform. But I don't want to get too political, but I think this bail reform thing is really a big, big issue. Hey, the Eyeglass Lady says, thanks, Tom, for the view. No problem. Hey, Poon Adams says, good evening, how are you? I'm doing really good. I'll show you guys briefly, since we haven't been to New York in a long time. This is the best Korean barbecue spot of all time in New York. It's called Baekjeong, and it is so good. Hopefully they leave up the outdoor dining spot here. But this is my favorite Korean barbecue spot. I'll zoom in on it so you guys can see. Baekjeong, New York City's #1 Korean barbecue spot. Pixelogic. I'm not too sure about the Guardian Angels. Yeah, Layda's like, sounds like home with the incredible honking constantly. You're back in New York when everybody's honking the horns. That's a nice Tesla that just passed there. But we do see some evidence that home prices are coming down a little bit, because although home prices continue to rise across the nation, the median sales price of a brand new home in February was $400,600. That is down from $423,300 in January. So if you're looking to buy a brand new home, not a used home, the price is roughly dropped about $20,000. And I think that's pretty good. But that could be, just a regular month-to-month change based on demand, based on seasonality. So we'll see if that trend continues. But a nice drop nonetheless. Yeah, Ibrahim Azam says, Tom, I'm still amazed at the variety of food you could have in New York. I just wish it wasn't that expensive. That's true. Hey, Animal DL is here. Good to see you, Animal DL. Says, Tom, have you seen any movies lately? I have not, but I think there's a new Batman movie out that I would like to see. So this is 5th Avenue and 33rd Street. We are looking directly at the Empire State Building as the wind starts to pick up. Hey, Buy the Book is here. What's up, Buy the Book? And photos from around New York. Good to see you. Ann R says, Vinny is bad all over from Texas and he came to New York City. Huh. Samantha R says, you should look at the new Batman. It was really good. I may have to check that out. Hey, G-Hope says, Tom, were you by chance raised by an elderly couple after they found you as a baby in a metro Crater. Yes. Hey, Richard Sal says, hey man, how are you? I am from Brazil. Very nice to see the United States. Good to see you, Richard, and welcome from Brazil. G Hope, good to see you. Pacific Desert Raid, what's up? West Coast is 30 frames per second. Is so boring. Should we up it to 60? What do you think? What do you think? All right, 5th Avenue, 34th Street. Yeah, Lupe, hilarious. So Colin Watt says Canada costs about $456,000 to buy a house. Yikes. Yeah, I mean, whatever happened to the starter homes in America that you could buy for like $250,000? It seems like they're almost non-existent. And even if you do have them, it's probably not going to be in a good location. Okay, so we're gonna cross the street and I'll show everybody the view of what it looks like directly standing under the Empire State Building. Lupe says, Tom, do you listen or read? Listen to music or read while you're on the plane? So I just bought a new book called The Power of Zero. So check out the book, The Power of Zero. Pretty good book about being tax efficient. If you look on my Twitter, so if you want to follow @WalksWallStreet on Twitter, I posted a picture of the book if you guys want to check it out. You could probably get it used off of Amazon for like $2, quite literally. But the book, The Power of Zero, talks about how to plan out your retirement accounts in a way where when you start to deduct money from your retirement accounts at retirement age, everything, you pretty much pay zero taxes. I read almost about the entire book, probably about 75% of the book. It's mainly geared towards, I don't think it's applicable to everybody, let's just say that. You know, because talking about retirement accounts, for example, like a Roth IRA, you know, in order to contribute to a Roth IRA, if you are a single person, I believe you have to make under $120,000. So I think if you make under $120,000, I would be maxing out the Roth IRA, because essentially, sorry, I'm just getting the call. Because essentially, if you think about it, if you put money into a Roth IRA, it'll grow tax-free for the remainder of your life. And when you withdraw the money, you don't have to pay any taxes. So you pay taxes before you put the money in. It has compounding interest forever. And when you go to withdraw the money, you don't pay any taxes. So the Roth IRA is a great tool, but it does have some limits and requirements. But it is a good book if you want to check it out. Yeah, Lady Sarita's Roth IRA is what I have and what I've been doing. I would highly encourage it. Very good tax efficient account. So Lady Sarita, I believe you're only allowed to put about $5,500 a year in it. I believe. Hey, Francisco, saludos from Mexico. Welcome. Good to see you. Bagson says, do you smoke weed since it's legal in New York? I don't, but I have no issue with anybody who does. William says, New York City, one of my favorite places to travel. Hey, Nice Guy is here. Good to see you. Lady Sarita says, Tom, I think the amount that you could invest went to $6,000. Well, that's good. I don't think there should be any limit on it, but that's just me. Hey, Faith, thank you so much for joining tonight. Appreciate it, Faith. As always, pleasure to have you. Hey, Ruben is here. Good to see you, Ruben. Welcome. Hey, Mr. Michael Marks says hello, watching from Brazil. Welcome, everybody from Brazil. Stephen L. says, I think Jeff Bezos' ex-wife donated the majority of her wealth she got from her marriage to Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity. Very cool. Yeah, it seems like a lot of the ultra wealthy people tend to donate the majority of their wealth, which I think is the right thing to do. Hey, Jeremiah Johnson says, sounds like a great book, Transforming Retirement and Dropping Down to a 0% tax bracket. Very interesting. Yeah, and also, so the reason why I bought the book is because the forward of the book is written by a man by the name of Ed Slott. His name is Ed Slott, and he is actually a graduate of Adelphi University right here on Long Island in Garden City. And he is known to be one of the most prominent voices in tax planning ever. And he actually has his office in Rockville Center, New York, which is on Long Island. So Ed Slott wrote the foreword for the book. And he is probably the most knowledgeable person in tax planning in the world. And if you guys want to watch a free video, a free podcast where they interview Ed Slott, look in the description of this video and please join our Discord. And under Market Talk, I did include a link to Ed Slott's podcast where you can learn all about retirement accounts and what the best plan is for you. Hey, 48 says, evening, Tom. Hope you're well. What's up, 48? We're back in New York here at Herald Square. Good to see you. Aldo Gomez, good to see you, my friend. The ABX girl says, once you hit 50, you can put in more as a catch-up contribution. You're correct. You're 100% right, the ABX girl. Lady Sarita says, Tom, Roth IRA is $6K. If you're over 50 years old, it is $7,000. Yeah, that's the only downside, right? I mean, you're only allowed to put in, I think this is going to be the Macy's Flower Show that's coming here pretty soon. Crazy, it's already that time of year. Hey, the one and only Miss Brown Eyes is here. Good to see you, Miss Brown Eyes. Demtix says, if you don't mind saying, what do you do when you're bored? I'm really never bored, to be totally honest. I'm so busy, I just maybe read, but I don't really get bored anymore. To be totally honest, I really don't. So this is the top of the One Vanderbilt building, which is one of my favorite buildings in the city. Very controversial, I understand. NG is here, good to see you, NG. G-Hope says, Tom, have you already covered the recession topic tonight? So G-Hope, I talked about that briefly in the Behind the Street newsletter. We talked about the inversion of the yield curve. So if you look at the bond yield spreads right now, the spread between the 10-year Treasury note and the 2-year Treasury note is very, very slim. And that is usually the sign of a very weak economy. However, once the yield curve inverts, which means short-term dated bonds are actually yielding more than longer-term dated bonds, this is what's called an inversion of the yield curve. And this has been a predictor of a recession almost 75% of the time. So if you want to learn more about an inverted yield curve, I wrote about it in the Behind the Street newsletter. If you type !news, N-E-W-S, in the chat, The Nightbot will drop the link where you can read all about it. But I believe Carl Icahn was interviewed recently on CNBC, where he too is predicting a recession, if not a depression. I'm not sure I agree with him, but it was an interesting interview nonetheless. It was an interesting interview nonetheless. New York's One Vanderbilt is actually one of the better looking skyscrapers added to the skyline. I think you're right. You know, we did run into a, what's it called? I guess a fellow New Yorker that hated the One Vanderbilt building. Does anybody remember that stream? We were streaming here in New York and we ran into a guy and he was, you know, talking so bad about the One Vanderbilt Tower. That was a funny stream. Yeah, photos from around New York. You remember that? He came up to us because we were looking at the One Vanderbilt and he's like, this tower's a piece of junk. I hate it. I was like, dude, I get it, but... Yeah, UPS once is Carl Icahn tends to be a perma there. Yeah, Ruby Falcone says he was very passionate about it too. That was one of the more bizarre streams we've had, I think. Yeah, unlimited stimulus is Tom. People are buying Apple stock like a bond. Yeah, I mean, the flight to safety tends to be in a lot of those big high-tech names. You know, on Apple's last earnings report, they posted their highest revenue producing quarter ever in company history. And I think on next earnings report, they're probably going to beat earnings because I actually had to buy a brand new iPhone 13 mini. So Walks on Wall Street channel will contribute to Apple's revenue growth. Obviously, I'm just kidding around. Hey, Eric 20 says, is it possible to have a recession, but the SPX earnings still go up? No. I do not believe so. No, Cosmo Scary, I actually did get a new phone. Because my iPhone 11, when I dropped it, when I was running to the bus, the only thing that broke on the phone was the camera. So I had to get another phone in order to stream. Hey, Lodi says, hello from Orlando, Florida. Love Orlando. Hopefully the weather is much better than it is here. Hey, Sheila Neal says, everybody pray for New Orleans. We will. Hey, 444 Truth Tellers, as you and Action Kid are both live, it would be cool if you guys both share screens like IG Live. That would be awesome. So Action Kid is live in downtown Miami, I'm assuming, right? That's where we just came from. Obviously, everybody probably knows Action Kid on the stream, but if you don't, go check out his stream, please. Hey, Brian says, hey, Tom, how was your flight back to New York? The flight was good. No complaints. The flight was really good back to New York. No turbulence like we had last time. But Brian, how was your day? Aldo Gomez is here. Lodi says, it's rainy here, but at least it's 80. Yeah, so, you know, when I left Miami this morning, it was actually bright sunshine. It was a beautiful day in Miami. Hey, somewhat knowledgeable geeks, says Tom, corporations are raising prices higher than inflation, hence they will continue to record record profits. That's capitalism for you. Yeah, so we talk about that a lot on the stream. You're 100% right. But the thing is, it's a little bit more complex than that. And I think it's easy for everybody to say, oh, these corporations are greedy. But I think the people are saying that really don't understand supply chain. And if they've ever worked in an environment where you're building actual products, it's a mess. Trust me, it is a freaking mess. So just to give you an example, we're doing a custom build on a Cat 6 router for a customer that has about a 500 unit run rate per month. I can't raise prices fast enough because the chips that go in the routers for the custom build, they're coming out of Lithuania. What's going on in Lithuania? Well, Lithuania borders Belarus. Supply chain's all messed up, and the raw materials that go into making the routers are going up literally every single month. So in order for me to maintain my margins, which are about 35%, I have to pass on that cost to my customer, or else I'm gonna be underwater on the deal. Because I have to pay the OEM, the manufacturer of the product, I have to pay for shipping, cargo is going up. You know, to create about 500 routers from Lithuania to the United States cost me about $750 just to get it here. That's like, it's sick, it's insane. So think about that on a massive scale, right? This is just me at a little small business. Think about that times billions of products and services flying around the globe. So the reason why corporations raise the prices even more so than inflation is because they can't be nimble like I can and go to the OEM and say, oh yeah, here's a PO for X amount because I already raised the price on the customer. So they tend to overshoot by a couple basis points so they can sustain those margins and lock things in. So I don't think it's corporations being greedy like Elizabeth Warren says. It's not. Trust me, it's not. But that is true. In an environment where interest rates, in an environment where inflation is really, really ripping, the companies with very, very strong brands tend to actually have margin expansion. You know, we just got an earnings report out of Nike the other day, and Nike's margins actually expanded, which is crazy knowing all that's going on. Hey, AG says good morning from India. Good to see you, AG. RJ, the one and only, good to see you. NNB 045, my friend from Montreal, Canada. Good to see you, NNB 045. We're back in New York. He says, hey Tom, hope you're doing well. I'm doing very good. Kadim Fall says hello everybody, good to see you. Hey Jeremiah says, I just got started with stocks but don't know much about. What would you suggest for me to educate myself? And do you have a newsletter that I could read that would be helpful? Yeah, so the newsletter is the first link in the description. But if you really want to start, I would read a book called Common Sense Investing by Jack Bogle. And John Bogle, he was the former, well, he unfortunately passed away now, but he was the founder of the Vanguard Group. And he is really what's known as the pioneer in indexing. So he made a very affordable, low-cost index fund that tracks the S&P 500 with a very, very low expense ratio that'll allow investors really to not get ripped off with the egregious fees. So I would read that book first. So check out Common Sense Investing by Jack Bogle. I also think there's a free audiobook if you type !Bogle in the chat. It'll drop a free audiobook. Oh, somewhat knowledgeable geek. What are you where are you getting the Italian hero from? Any notable place or just the bodega, random bodega? Hey, Lori E says labor shortages, supply shortages, and shipping cost increases. A different type of trickle-down economics. Hey, Jose Sanchez is here. Good to see you, Jose. Speaking of marijuana, we have a cannabis truck here. But I don't think there's any real THC in any of those. Hey, XXX is here. Good to see you. Welcome. Jeremiah says great, thanks. Yeah, but Jeremiah, check out the newsletter. They are all archived on the website, so you could feel free to read through them as you'd like. It's just going to make you punch in your email, and then you're going to get a confirmation email. But it's totally free. Hey, Randy the Machine says, if or when we get deflation, prices will come down with competition so market share can be sustained. This is Randy the Machine. Cole says CBD. Yeah, I heard about on another stream, I think, that a lot of those weed trucks are all scams, allegedly. But supposedly they're all fraud, those weed trucks. I'm not too sure about that, but that's what I heard. So look at Bryant Park. It looks like they took down almost all of the Winter Village stuff here. Hey, Perry Willix says, hey Tom, how you doing tonight? We're doing really good. We're walking around New York. It's not too hot, not too cold, and not too rainy. Hey, Michelle McGraw. Good to see you, Michelle. Hope you're doing good. Cynthia Beal says, good evening, back in New York City. Wow, I'm still on the couch. Good to see you, Cynthia Beal. Ooh, Somewhat Knowledgeable Geek says, Dursos in Flushing today, and Tony's Deli in Whitestone, Queens is excellent. Both are very well known and have been featured on many things. Tony's is a family-ran deli and is a neighborhood staple. You know, I'm gonna take a screenshot of that. I'm gonna probably check that out. Hey, Daniela Ashley is here. Says, hey Tom. What's up, Danielle? Thank you for joining tonight. We are walking around Bryant Park. Well, not walking around Bryant Park. It is closed. But in the background, you could see the one and only New York Public Library, or as it is now called, the Stephen Schwarzman Building. And Stephen Schwarzman, as we know, is a massive, massive icon on Wall Street, where he made the majority of his money doing leverage buyout deals during the old corporate raider days on Wall Street. Hey, Kaylee is here. Says, hey, Tom, back in New York, I see. Yes, we are, Kaylee. Indeed, we are. But right across the street is the Salesforce Tower. And Salesforce is an enterprise software company. The CEO is Mark Benioff. And they actually just completed an acquisition of Slack under the ticker symbol WORK. And I think Slack alone, Salesforce projects that they're going to generate $1.5 billion a year just from Slack. Hey, Daniel G is here from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Good to see you, Daniel. I hope you are doing good. But if you guys are enjoying tonight's stream, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new, as we do these live streams about 5 days a week. We'd love to see you on more live streams if you choose to subscribe to the channel. But Daniel G, I hope everything is well in Buenos Aires, my friend. So we're approaching 42nd Street and Avenue of the Americas, and I'm going to show everybody the Bank of America Tower. So this is one of my favorite buildings in the New York City skyline. It's right here, Bank of America Tower, 42nd Street and 6th. Hey, Western Mass Dave says, Tom, is San Francisco where they have the Salesforce Tower? Do you want to visit? I do want to visit there. Very, very much. I'd love to see the Salesforce Tower. But now we're looking at the Bank of America Tower. Radik Rahman says, hey Tom, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so Latha says the Salesforce tower may be sinking. You know, I think that's the Millennium Tower. I think the Millennium Tower may actually quite literally be sinking in San Francisco. Because I didn't know this up until only a couple months ago. But supposedly, the Millennium Tower, or much of San Francisco, is actually built on the bay. So what they did is they just filled in the bay with a bunch of dirt, and buildings are built on top of it, which is kind of crazy. So some of the buildings are actually quite literally sinking into the ground, which is a little bit frightening. So there's been a lot of calls in order to actually take down the Millennium Tower. I'm not sure how they're going to manage that, but supposedly they have a lot of engineers working on fixing the issue. Wow, by the book, says Tom, Salesforce Tower is also sinking. So check out this view of the Empire State Building we have here from Bryant Park. Hey, AG says, I'm literally addicted to your show, Tom. Can't wait to get to it after I wake up in the early morning. Hey, thank you, AG. I appreciate it. I very, very much appreciate that. Hey, word on the street says they have a bad foundation due to the earthquake problem as well. Yeah, that's sad, because supposedly San Francisco is a beautiful city too. Sissa says, Tom, isn't the issue the uneven sinking? Could have sworn it is making the tower lean, and that was the problem. I think so too. You know, there's a very good video about it, I believe, on the Army Corps of Engineers YouTube channel. So I believe what happened, and don't hold me to this, but I think what happened was when they were trying to actually fix the tower from sinking, they pulled way too much water from underground, and it actually caused the tower to sink even more. Because there's a big water table under there, and it's causing it to sink even more. So this is actually where they dropped the ball. This is the Times Square ball here. Hey, insurance practice exams is here. Good to see you. Hope you were doing well. Yeah, Latha says the Times Square ball is so bright now. You know, it's probably really bright because there's a bunch of rain on it, so it's probably reflective of a lot of colors. Eric 20 says, Tom, any thoughts on the homeless problem? I think we should use Randall's Island to build a ton of affordable housing units. So Randall's Island, I believe, is where the FDNY Academy is located. Sissa says, I'm from New York City but haven't been back in a couple of years because of the Army. I miss the city. How is it after all the COVID/closure issues? Well, first and foremost, thank you for your service. We appreciate it very much. We appreciate all of our men and women in the armed forces, so thank you for serving the country, my friend. That's first and foremost. But, you know, I tend to be more optimistic about it. I think the city is going to come back. I think the only headwind that we've had is a lot of the big corporations here, especially a lot of the investment banks. A lot of them are still remote, and I think the number one employer on the island of Manhattan is JP Morgan Chase. And if you have all of the workers working remote, that means not a lot of people are going to be coming into the city on a work day. So, you know, what does that mean for a lot of the small businesses? I'm not sure, but I was reading an article in the New York Post that actually said, you know, on the weekends, there's even more people coming into the city just so they could eat out at the restaurants and things like that. So hopefully, you know, people will come back to New York to at least eat at the restaurants, but it seems like they are unwilling to come back to New York to work at the office. But hey, Sunshine, New York. What's up, Sunshine? Good to see you. Hey, Frank G, this is Tom. Do you know the history with Citigroup building in New York City? It was a risk of falling back in the day. So I don't know that. I've never heard about that, actually. But good to see you, Frank. Catherine O'Connell, it's good to see you. Hey, Roy is here. What's up, Roy? Roy, I was checking out some of your streams. I really, really like it. Hey, the Austin Tennis is happy Whopper deal Wednesday. Tom, Austin Tennis, what's up? So everybody, the Austin Tennis is the former investment banker turned enterprise software salesperson from Toronto. It's always good seeing you, Austin Tennis. Hopefully you have blown out your quota for the month. So good to see you. Hey, NNB045 says, Tom, I don't want to be too political, but I hear Bitcoin is being used to evade sanctions. If Bitcoin were the world reserve currency, an IU of the US dollar, would that force diplomacy since it can't be confiscated? Yeah, I think a lot of that stuff is a little bit overstated, right? I mean, you know, using cryptocurrencies to avoid sanctions. I mean, I think like in terms of like on an economic scale, the amount of economic activity coming out of Russia in comparison to the United States or China, it's almost like nothing. So I think it's just like a talking point. You know, are there probably some people funneling money around the world in Bitcoin to evade taxes and evade sanctions? Yeah, there probably is. But they do the same thing at JP Morgan Chase. They do the same thing at BNP Paribas. I mean, look at all of the fines that many of these large investment banks had to pay for money laundering schemes. So they do it at the biggest institutions on Wall Street too. Well, we got a small business shop set up here. Looks like you could print things and shred your papers, stuff like that. David, good to see you. Hey, British Grey. Welcome, welcome, British Grey. Good to see you. Hey, Irivas, thank you so much. Says bye, Tom. And everybody have a good night. I have to go. Irivas, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Otto, good to see you. So now we are crossing Madison Avenue on 42nd Street. You know, maybe we'll have time to do one lap around Grand Central Station. This guy's on a longboard, very cool. Austin Tennis says, was it WeWork Wednesday for Mr. Tom? No, I was traveling all day. I actually just landed here in New York from Miami. Wow, check out this view of the Chrysler Building. Beautiful. Hey, Shot by Scott says, Tom, back in the cold. Bite of the Big Apple. Good to see you, Scott. It definitely is a lot different from Miami, I can tell you that. NNB045 says, Tom, are the rainbow bagels worth it in New York? I think I've had one once, But my favorite go-to order at the bagel shop or the bodega is probably a bacon, egg, and cheese on a cinnamon raisin bagel. I know it sounds a little weird, but you gotta try it. That's probably my favorite go-to order for sure. So this is Vanderbilt Avenue, right outside Grand Central Terminal. Yeah, Kaylee is like, what? Ah, Cole says, wow, that's my brother's favorite. Awesome. Hey, War Walker, what's up, man? Good to see you. Can you guys see the raindrops coming down on the stream? This is the One Vanderbilt building, by the way. All right, let's see if we could take one lap around the inside of Grand Central Terminal. Western Mass Dave, you can see it. Yeah, I think the camera quality is a little bit more crisp than the previous phone, I think. But we'll take a little quick walk around the inside. We haven't been here in a while. Hey, Savi is here. Good to see you, Savi. Welcome, welcome, my friend. Hey, Buy the Book says, Tom, do you have an umbrella? I don't. But I do have a jacket that is totally water resistant, which is good. .48 says, yes, I could see the raindrops, Tom. Very good. Yeah, Western Mass Daves is definitely more crisp. All right, everybody, we are now in Grand Central Station. We are going to be walking to the main concourse. Where we will be able to see the very famous clock. All right, here we are, friends, at Grand Central Station. I think one of my favorite places. Architecture, it's beautiful. Hey, Manthony18 is here. Good to see you, Manthony18. I hope you're well. Stephen L says there's a speakeasy inside Grand Central Station. Yeah, I believe it's called Campbell Apartments. And before COVID, I actually used to take some clients there. It is a beautiful, beautiful scene in there. And supposedly it used to be an office, but they've converted it into a bar. And here it is. So if you go up these stairs, you'll see the Campbell Apartments right here, and the bar is right there. Hey, Jay's Tom just stopped by to say hi. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you, Jay. Thank you for joining tonight. And then here is the main clock in the middle of the concourse. Hey, Catherine O'Connell. This is just amazing. Thank you for being here, Catherine. Hope you're doing well. I think the thing I like the most about Grand Central are these mega massive pane glass windows. Yeah, Carl is like huge, like a casino. Shot by Scott. Says, is it a BYOB place? Hey, Solo 401. Good to see you, my friend. Hope all is well in your neck of the woods, my friend Solo401. Yeah, Warwalker says it's amazing the amount of people who've walked past this terminal in and out over the years. Hey, Hans Perez says, hello, I'm new to this channel. Thanks to this show. Hey, thank you so much, Hans. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it. We're happy to have you here, and hopefully we see you here on more live streams. So I'll show you guys the shot of the American flag here. Cynthia Beal says, Tom, did you get an iPhone 13 Pro? I did not. I got the iPhone 13 mini. It was a little bit cheaper, and I think it pretty much does the same thing. And here is a view of the ceiling.
Attention customers. A reminder, proper wearing of a mask that covers the nose and mouth is required when you travel on trains or are in our stations regardless of social distancing and vaccination status. If you forgot yours, please ask a station ambassador or train crew member to provide one. Stay safe.
Hey, Glamrock 90 says, greetings from across the river in Passaic, New Jersey. Hey, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Juan Carlos says, thank you, Tom, for showing us these amazing places. Like it's the first time you've been here, no problem. Hey, the Charlie Roll says, wow, you are again in Manhattan, so awesome. Yeah, we just landed back in New York today. I do have to adjust to the temperature change for sure. Yes, Solo401 says there's one dirt spot to show how disgusting it was when the people smoked. There is. So I'll show it again. Even though we show it all the time, I'll show it again. I think it's interesting. So before they cleaned the ceiling, they left one little dirt spot right here, which is actually all the cigarette and cigar smoke from over the years, and they left it just to show what the ceiling used to look like. So it used to be all black and nasty, but they have since cleaned it up. So we'll head back down to the Moynihan train station. I think my hands are too cold that I can't even zoom. Or it's really difficult at that point. Yeah, shot by Scott's like, Tommy, you still in your Bermuda shorts? I am. Shot by Scott. I'm really missing Wynwood, one of my favorite places to go in Miami. Hey, Ron Metro TV is here. Good to see you, Ron. Good to see you, Roy and Ron. Lathes like Tom has become like an iguana in Florida. I can't confirm or deny that. All right, so we will walk up and out, and then we will continue on our way down to the Moynihan train station. Could we get a quick time check in the chat? I just want to make sure we are right on time. Back out in the fresh New York City air. Hey, 94 says, Tom, glad you made it back safe. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. 10:39, right on time. Right on time, my friends. Cynthia Beal says, Tom, have you taken photos of the manatee? Yeah, if you look at my IG, I do have some videos of the manatee. So if you look in the description of this video, it'll have the link to my Instagram where I did post some videos of the manatees. Or you could follow us on Twitter at Walks Wall Street. Cloudmaker, I'm really indifferent about that. Do I feel safer in New York or Miami? To me, it's all the same. To be totally honest, I don't really notice a difference. Hey, Cheryl is here. Good to see you, Cheryl. Welcome. We are back in New York City. We made it back. Hey, 48 says, Tom, you are just the best on streaming and talking. Thank you, 48. You're the best as well. Yeah, so Shot by Scott. I guess South Beach is under a curfew, but I think this happens every year because the spring breakers come and sort of wreak havoc. But once they leave, everything's pretty much back to normal. But unfortunately, some people like to have a little bit too much fun, which is never a good thing. But we did witness a crazy hit and run accident in South Beach. Hey, Israel says, Tom, do you speak Spanish? Un poco, very little. But hopefully I can improve upon that in the weeks and the years to come. So now we're on the corner of 5th Avenue, 42nd Street, as we are overlooking the beautiful New York Public Library. Hey, Cindy Foley is here. Hey, Cindy. This is back in the New York groove. Good to see you, Cindy. We were talking about the housing market today. And after dropping 4.5% month over month in January, new home sales were down yet again in February, decreasing 2% from the month prior to a seasonally adjusted rate of 772,000 homes, according to data released today by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and the U.S. Census Bureau on Wednesday. And I think many economists on Wall Street were expecting 810,000 homes to be sold. So we did come in under expectations. But this could be accredited to, I have a massive rock in my shoe. But this could be accredited to rising interest rates, a shortage of supply, inflation in building materials such as lumber and copper, and lastly, a severe shortage of skilled labor. A lot of these home builders just can't find people to work to build these homes. So an interesting piece of economic data. If you want to read more about it, if you type !home, H-O-M-E, in the chat, the Nightbot will drop the link where you could read more about the economic data. Yeah, Lady Sarita's like, don't you just hate that? Ruby Falcone's like, get the rock out. We'll wait for you. Hey, Lodi says, I've been to Miami, but I think when I leave Orlando, I think I love visiting St. Augustine more. Hey, you know, a lot of people have told me that. A lot of people have said St. Augustine, Florida is beautiful. So maybe we'll have to check it out. Yeah, I think the size of the stone in my shoe is just small enough that it rattles around, but it's not large enough to cause a big disaster. So it's like stepping on a thumbtack every 20 steps. So I have to keep an eye on where that little pebble is. So now we're crossing 6th Avenue, headed towards Times Square, 42nd Street. Here's a nice view of the Empire again. Yeah, Roy's like, I hate that time. Hilarious. Sunshine, New York's like, Tom, you gotta take it out. It's gonna drive you insane. It's driving me insane. Hey, Al Baker from Hollywood, Florida. Good to see you, Al. We're back in New York. Ruby Falcon looks like it doesn't pay rent. Here's the weed bus again. Yeah, I think the new camera is a little bit sharper, at least from what I'm seeing on the screen. I think some of the colors are a little bit more sharp. Here's the ball again, where they drop on New Year's. Cole says, yeah, it's crisp for sure. Yeah, Cole, keep us updated on your trying to sell your house on Staten Island. I'd be interested to see how the open house goes. So Cole, are you expecting like a line out the door for your open house? Because a lot of the open houses on Long Island, I mean, those have been really, really crazy. Those have been really, really crazy. Fed says, is that an iPhone? Yes, it is. So here is a view of Times Square here in Manhattan. Hey, Cole says, I'm hoping so. There have been over 30 saves on Zillow alone. Wow. So how long ago did you list it, Cole? Hey, Mike C is here. Says, it seems the housing market has peaked. You know, Mike, you could be right. You know, we did see home sales decline 2 consecutive months in a row, but there were a lot of factors as to why. But demand still seems to be really high. You know, supposedly, anytime a home gets listed on the market, it's sold within 3 weeks. But we do have a slight uptick in supply. But as we make our way into spring, I think those numbers are going to turn around for the spring selling season. Supposedly the best time to actually sell a home is in the spring. The worst time to sell is in the winter. Yeah, Lodi says, I don't even think about buying a house in Orlando right now. Yeah, so I think Orlando is one of those housing markets that went up the most, or if not one of the most. Hey, the one and only Lady O, good to see you. Lady O is our moderator from New Jersey. Good to see you. Solo 401 says, Tom, I'm looking for an apartment in Rhode Island. There's always multiple people at a showing. It's tough here. Yeah, think about that. So even for an apartment, just to get an apartment, not even to buy something, but for an apartment, there's multiple people lining up. It's the same thing here in New York City. You would think you're lined up to get a slice of Joe's Pizza, but you're lined up to try to get an apartment. It's crazy. Photos from around New York, interesting. Perry says, Tom, when will you be going back to Miami? I'm not sure. That is tentative. I just got to New York a couple hours ago, so I'm not sure when I will be back. Soon enough. Yes, Solo 401 says, Tom, people are offering more than asking for the apartments too. It's crazy. Well, in Brickell, which is sort of like the financial district / tech district in Miami, some people are even paying a full month in advance of their rent in order just to get the apartment, which is crazy. So not only are you competing on price, you're competing on the capital outlay too. So some people are outlaying almost a year's worth of rent just to win the deal, which is, I mean, I don't understand it. It is so crazy. Hey, Penelope says, yes, Tom, the spring, I'm hoping to sell my dad's house soon. It is on a golf course. Very hopeful. Yeah, I don't think you'll have a problem doing that, Penelope. Honestly, you'll probably be fine. So Penelope, is that in Tennessee as well? Nancy, it's good to see you. Welcome. Al Baker says, alcohol sales banned after 6 p.m. during the curfew in Miami Beach. Yeah, well, Al, I think there was a couple shootings. I mean, even us on the stream, we saw a couple hit and run accidents, which was definitely not cool. But unfortunately, the camera was too blurry to get the license plate. Hey, Gregory, good to see you, my friend. Hope you're well, Gregory. No, the Swan, you're right, they are quayed up. Somebody says, does the curfew apply to 60-year-old tourists? Perhaps. All right, so now we are walking down Broadway. And we should be coming up to Herald Square very soon. Yeah, Lady O's like, Tom, this must have been a long day for you. Yeah, it was, but I mean, fortunately, you know, I got to the airport just in the nick of time. I almost missed my flight, which is pretty much par for the course for me. But we took off. It was a smooth takeoff. It was a smooth landing. And it was good all around, no complaints. And now we are snowing. I mean, I was about to say snowing. And now it is raining a little bit. Lodi says, Tom, how many steps do you have in for today? I'm not too sure. We should probably track that. To be honest, I'm not too sure. But we're coming up on 36th Street. We're about to see one of my favorite shots of the Empire State Building. So if you guys are enjoying the stream, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new for more New York City and Miami live streams. So check it out. We're about to see it right now. This is one of my favorite shots of the Empire right here. Solo 401's like Five Guys. Does indeed beat Shake Shack, I agree. Yeah, Ricky M's like, Tom, why'd you come back to New York? Miami weather is great. Unfortunately, I had to come here for business, and I'm actually going to Philadelphia tomorrow. So I'm taking the Amtrak train out early. So you could almost see the raindrops coming down on the stream. So you have the Empire State Building and the American flag in the background. Hey, Abdul is here. Good to see you. Nancy is here. Welcome. We are at Herald Square, Macy's. Yeah, so it looks like the Macy's Flower Show is going to come back for another year. Demix says I have to work, but I can't stop watching. I appreciate it. But everybody, tonight on the stream we covered some housing data, some key housing data. We briefly talked about the stock market sell-off. But I think after 4 consecutive days of 1% gains, I think the market is warranted for a little bit of a pullback. Just as a reminder, on Monday I did email everybody, oh, we're going to be here for the major reveal. Very cool. We just made it just in time. Very cool. I think they just unraveled this. So the flower show at Macy's. Very cool. Let's stand back a little bit so you guys can see it a little better. So it says you're in for a real show, but it looks like they're giving us a little bit of an exclusive here. Hey, Bit of Wander is here. Good to see a Bit of Wander. Hope you're well. Hey, Heather is here. Good to see you, Heather. MG Reddy says hello, Tom. Good to see you. The rain is starting to come down a little bit here in New York. But it's almost a little bit relaxing, the rain. Yeah, War Walker says we got a preview courtesy of the Tom Show. Well, thank you for being here, War Walker. This is 34th Street, Herald Square, where you can get the BDFM and QRW trains. Yeah, Western Mass Dave's like, I love to hear the rain. Yeah, look, they're bringing in all of the flowers for the Macy's Flower Show. Gangsta says, I really want to live in New York City. It is my dream. Well, please come. We'd be more than happy to have you here. Mike C says, Tom, did you talk about Carl Icahn predicting a recession? We did talk about that. So Carl Icahn is predicting a recession. Carl Icahn is a billionaire on Wall Street, where he also made the majority of his money from being a corporate raider in a lot of the leverage buyout deals. Or he would try to win board seats and do the corporate takeover. But I think the thing that's concerning most people out there about a recession is the flattening of the yield curve. So if we look at the spread between the 10-year treasury and the 2-year treasury, we'll see the yields, the spread between those are very, very narrow. And that is a signal of a very weak economy. However, when we have an inversion of the yield curve, that means long-term dated bonds will pay out less than short-term dated bonds and vice versa. So an inversion of the yield curve would be a circumstance where we had the 2-year treasury actually yielding higher than the 10-year treasury note. And that oftentimes predicts a recession over 75% of the time. So about 12 months after the yield curve inverts, we usually go into recession. So we'll keep our eye on that. But if you want to read more about the inversion of the yield curve, I wrote about it in the Behind the Street newsletter. So if you type !news, N-E-W-S, in the chat, the Nightbot will drop the link where you could read about it. I wrote about the inversion or the potential inversion of the yield curve. So feel free to read about that as we're taking a look at the Macy's windows here. Yeah, Pacific Desert Raids, as the reflection looks beautiful in the rain. It does. Hey, Judy D, welcome. I'll give you guys one last look at the Empire State Building. Hey, Gangsta VCMP says, I just subscribed. I am new. Hey, thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. We'd love to see you on more live streams in the future. Yeah, NNB 045 says, Tom, I think the recession could be averted despite the inversion if air travel and tourism get back to pre-pandemic levels. You could be right, NNB 045. .48 is joining us from New Zealand. What's the weather like in New Zealand, 48? Curious to know. But check this out. If you look all the way uptown, all the way in the distance, you could see 42nd Street, Times Square. Hey, Glamrock 90 says, thank you, enjoy it, but I gotta get ready for tomorrow, the daily grind. See you the next video. Thank you for joining. Please be safe and have a good one. And we'll see you on the next live stream. Photos from around New York. Thank you for that. Gangsta says, Tom, your voice is so relaxing and cool. Thank you so much for the compliment. I appreciate it. Chris says, can you go to Times Square? We just went there a while ago. on the stream, so feel free to rewind and check that out. Thank you for being here, Chris. Hey, Joyce is here. Good to see you, Joyce. Says it is rainy in New York. Indeed, it is a very rainy night. Right now it is 42 degrees and rainy in New York City. So everybody, we've come to the end of the stream. I'm gonna end it here. So thank you everybody for joining. I appreciate it. If you loved the live stream tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and if you want to receive the Behind the Street newsletter, it is the first link in the description. Ramon, thank you. Dimitriex, thank you. Michelle McGraw, all of our moderators. We'll see you right back here tomorrow into the Mighty Bull. Have a good night wherever you are, because there is always a bull market somewhere, and you just need to know where to look. And I'll see everybody right back here tomorrow. Stay safe, everybody. Stay dry, and we'll see you next time.